Let's start. Okay, let's start with some time-varying fields. What we have seen till date is we had looked at static fields. So we have completed static fields. So the static fields, both electrostatic and magnetostatic, is done. We have covered all the most of the aspects which are needed for our time-varying part. What we have seen is they are represented using x comma y comma z, or e x h are represented in rectangular coordinates, or if it's moving towards cylindrical, then it's rho, phi, and z, so on. One thing we have seen is they are independent of each other. They are E is generated because of the charges, static charges, stationary or moving. H is created by mostly when the charges start moving, right? So they are independent, they are depending on the behavior of the charge, whether it is stationary, moving, like that, right? So H here, like E was because of charges, H was because of the motion of charges with uniform velocity, or static magnetic charges, right? So now moving towards dynamic fields, what we have is there's another independent variable which comes into picture, which is t, which is time. So what it means is that the E, the static electric field, and the the electric field and the magnetic field, they change with respect to time. So that's why they are called as dynamic fields, dynamic or time varying electrostatic or magnetic fields. Time varying electric or magnetic fields. Okay, they are interdependent on each other. Okay, and the time varying fields are due to accelerated charges or due to time varying current. So you change the acceleration of the charge, that is, you change the velocity of the charge, okay, with respect to time, then you get acceleration, right? So that is like when you keep on doing that, when you do that, you get a time varying field, time varying magnetic field. Same way, if you keep on, if you have a time varying current, right, it also generates your magnetic or a electric field. Okay, so there are two conditions in which these time varying fields are generated: accelerated charges and time varying currents. So some examples, illustrations of the time varying currents are something like this. It's changing with respect to time. So this is time, and if this is the magnitude, then if you see this, it's changing with respect to time. Here also, these are called as like the pulsated currents. Okay, so where it's no longer steady now, so you have a changing field which will be resulted because of this change in the velocity or change in the value, okay, with respect to time. Okay, so why this came into picture was like after that Ørsted's experimental discovery, right, of steady current produces steady magnetic field, which was like your Biot-Savart law, okay, the Biot-Savart law or the Ampere law. They are one or other form of the your Ørsted's experimental discovery. Okay, so Biot-Savart or the Ampere's law, where it said that a steady current, when the charges move at a steady rate, then what happens is it generates a static magnetic field, and that that was proved. Okay, so what was now people wanted to know was whether the reverse will be true. A magnetic field will produce a current or not. Okay, so Michael Faraday in New York and Joseph Henry, here in this case is Joseph Henry in London, they were like experimenting on this kind of a theory. So they found that if you have a static magnetic field, you get it near the wire, there is no current generated. You have so let's just say that there is a wire which is here, and I get a magnet here, okay, where this is your north pole, let's say. Okay, this is your north pole, this is your south pole. So what will happen is there will be a static magnetic field generated here, right? There will be a static magnetic field generated. Now the thing is, if I get it here, there's no current which is induced here in this wire. The moment I start moving this, okay, moving this or in any direction, okay, that means what I am doing here is that the magnetic field at every point is no longer static, it is changing because the distance from this north pole and south pole is changing, right? So that's why your intensity will vary with respect to time when you start moving this particular thing in near the wire. So what you are eventually creating is a time varying magnetic field, okay. So this time varying magnetic field, when you keep on moving this, what you are saying is that it induces current in the wire. So that is what was the discovery of your Michael Faraday's experiments. So according to Michael Faraday's experiments, a static magnetic field produces no current flow. So you keep a steady magnetic field, there will be no current flow. But a time varying magnetic field produces an induced voltage called as EMF, electromotive force. A voltage is also called as EMF, a potential difference, okay. What we see is the moment we start creating a time varying field, it produces a induced voltage or simply called EMF, okay, in a closed circuit which causes a flow of current. This causes a flow of current. So that's what the discovery of your Michael Faraday was. So Faraday discovered that the induced EMF is in any closed circuit is equal to the rate of change of the magnetic flux linkage by the circuit. So think about this. So let's just say there is an inductor, okay. Here there is an inductor. Okay. Now what we are doing here is what he said was the movement, right, in any closed circuit is equal to the time rate of change of. So what happens here is EMF is induced in this case, which is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux linkage by the circuit, okay. So this is a magnetic flux, right? So this particular whenever there is a field which is generated, this field multiplied by the area of this closed loop, right, is your magnetic flux. Now rate of change of the flux is directly equal to the when it will change, V dot ds. Whenever there is a change in V or whenever there is a change in the area, okay. So there will be change in the magnetic flux. Whenever the rate of change of this magnetic flux is directly proportional to the induced voltage. So whenever what I do is I get a magnetic field here and I just keep on moving it. This magnetic field into the area, okay, will give me the flux. Now rate of change of that flux, because I am moving this magnet, let's say horizontally, I move this flux will keep on changing, right? So this flux will keep on changing. The rate of change of flux, okay, rate of change of magnetic flux is in this closed circuit is directly proportional to the induced EMF. That is what Faraday's law is. Okay, so now coming to the Lenz's law. Okay, first mathematically coming to the Faraday's law. What Faraday's law states that is that VEMF equal to minus d lambda by dt. That is equal to lambda is flux linkage. We already seen that is equal to n into psi, right? So psi is the flux through each turn. N is the number of turns, and the negative sign indicates that the induced voltage acts in a way to oppose the flux producing it. This is also called as Lenz's law. So Faraday's law tells us that okay, a changing magnetic field generates a induced EMF, okay, or creates a induced EMF. But what Lenz's law tells us is that the EMF, it gives you the sign in which that particular current will flow because of the induced EMF. So think about this. Let's just say think about a loop, a closed loop. Okay, some kind of a closed loop. Okay, now what I can do here is, let's just say that I get a magnet here, okay, closer to it, and this is a permanent magnet. So I know that there will be a field which will be, flux lines will be there, it will be through this, right? Something like this will be already there. So this is, so such flux lines will be there. Okay, the direction of the flux lines will be like this, from north pole to the south pole. Okay, so now if I get this, if I get this magnet closer to this loop, okay, what will happen is, this, think about the permanent magnet, I am trying to get it closer to the loop, and then after I am just moving it back, so it's back and forth. I am moving this magnet back and forth in this direction. So in one position, it's, the north pole will be somewhere here, okay, the north pole will be here and the south pole will be here. Okay, in another position, in another instance of a time, the north pole will be here, okay, will be here. So this is what I am doing. What I am eventually doing is, like, I am moving this magnet up and down near the closed circuit. When it is coming towards this loop, what will happen is, if you see the flux is basically going to be like whatever magnetic field is passing through this particular loop, right, will be increasing, because your B will increase, right, because see the B value is going to be like, is going to be a vector. So the B is going to be something like this vector, right? So it's going to be like this. The moment I get it closer, what is happening is, this vector is going to be of this length, okay, because it's closer to the loop, right? So then so what will happen is, the B dot ds psi, in this case, one second, yeah, so in this case your psi will be increasing, because it's closer to the loop. Okay, now what Lenz's law tells me is, Faraday's law tells me that, okay, it's going to induce a current, okay, because what is happening is, I am moving this back and forth, so the flux is changing with respect to time. The flux through this loop is changing with respect to time. Now what Lenz's law tells me is, it gives me like what is the direction of the current going to be. Okay, so what it tells is, the direction of the current is going to be in such a way that whatever magnetic field is generated by that induced current, that magnetic field is going to oppose the original magnetic field, okay, or it's going to oppose the change in the rate of change of flux. Okay, so what is going to happen is, this, in this case, right, in this case the psi is increasing. So I know that since psi is increasing, the B is going to be in this direction. So whatever B I have to generate here, it's going to be like opposing this. So B has to be in this direction. So if B has to be in this direction, then my current flow has to be, induced current has to be in the counterclockwise. If the induced current is counterclockwise, then if I curl my fingers in the direction of the loop, if I curl my fingers in the direction of the loop, my induced B will be in this direction, right, which will oppose the B. Okay, so that B So eventually what will happen is your B dot ds value will be decreasing. Clear? So it is opposing this increase in the flux. Now in the second place, if this magnet, right now it was in this motion, now I am taking it back away from the loop. I am moving this magnet in the vicinity of the loop, right? So I am moving it back and forth, up and down here, up and down here, up and down. So now in the next moment it is moving in away from the loop, right? As it is moving away from the loop, what is going to happen is that this B dot ds, your flux value is going down, it's decreasing, because your B here is, as you move away from the loop, the B value decreases, right? B value decreases. So what eventually has happening is the B value decreases, so B dot ds, which is your flux, psi, is also decreasing, right? So now what I have to do is, since my B is decreasing, it's basically the change which is being opposed. It's the change which is opposed. So now what will happen is, I'll induce my current, that will induce the current in the direction which is this. So what it will cause is, it will, my B, induced B will be now in this direction. The induced B will be in this direction. So which will actually help this change in flux. It will actually help this flux from not going down, but to maintain it at a constant rate. So it is basically opposing the change. In this case the flux was increasing, so the induced current has to basically oppose the increase. In this case the psi was decreasing, the flux was decreasing, so the induced current has to create a magnetic field which will oppose the decrease, so it will increase the psi, right? So that's what it is. This is your basically your Lenz's law. Okay, here the direction of the current is such that the induced magnetic field produced by the induced current will oppose the change in the magnetic field, or the original magnetic field. Okay, yeah. So when I say that B decreases or increases as we move the magnet closer or away from the closed loop, what it implies is that the amount of B, the flux lines that pass through this particular closed loop, okay, and same thing here, like whatever B is because of this particular north-south poles of the magnet, there are like flux lines generated, right? So these flux lines, the amount of flux lines that pass through this particular closed loop, they decrease when you take the magnet away from the closed loop. Similarly, when you get the magnet closer to the closed loop, the amount of flux lines increase. So thereby increasing your psi or decreasing your psi. Okay, so consider this circuit where we are seeing that there's a battery, and that battery is connected to a load R, and which results in flow of a current I. The direction of the current is as shown here in this. So now what will happen is, assume that EF, we are going to get a potential difference at the battery which will be given as, let's say, V. Okay, this V or VEMF is going to produce a field. That field is given as EF. The direction of the field is going to be, it's a battery is basically some kind of a chemical, electrochemical solution, right? So that we will be like, that will be having some kind of a chemical energy associated with it, and that energy gets transferred into a electrical energy as we move into the circuit. So that basically there's some kind of a work being done. So work done upon charge is voltage. So that's your VEMF of the battery. Okay. So this VEMF this EMF produces this VEMF, this potential difference produces a field which is called as EF. The direction of the field is EF, is this one. At the same time, what happens is there is an accumulation of positive charges on this terminal and negative charges on this terminal. The moment you have that some kind of accumulation of charges, there is a electric field which is generated, and the flux lines are going to flow along this path and are going to get absorbed by this, enter into this negative charges, right? So at the same time, this is outside the battery, external to the battery, and that field is given as EE. Okay, EE is the electrostatic field because of these charges. Okay, at the same time, within the battery, the direction of the EE will be opposite. It's going to be like starting from the positive terminal and ending on the negative terminal. Okay, so the direction of EE inside the battery is opposite to the direction of EE outside the battery. Okay, EF is the EMF produced field. It is 0 outside the battery. So what you have is E is the electrostatic field or electric field at any point in the circuit, which will be summation of your EF plus EE. Okay, at any point in the circuit, the electric field at any point will be summation of EF plus E. Okay, now if I take a closed integral of this, the electric field over a closed loop, what I'll get is, for the closed circuit, I will get this as E dot dl. I know that EE is conservative. Electric field due to charges is conservative. So EE dot dl will go to 0. The closed line integral, closed loop integral will be going to 0. So what I'll be left with is, I'll be left with just this, the electric field over a closed path of this circuit will be equal to just the EF, which exists only inside the battery. EF is 0 outside the battery. So what will happen here is, I can say that EF exists only from points N to P, right? So from N to P dl. Okay, so now so what it means is that the first thing is that your electric field of a closed loop, which is EMF produced field, is not conservative. So this guy, EMF produced field, is not conservative. Okay, this is the EMF produced field, E dot dl. It's no longer conservative now. Okay, and another thing is VEMF, the potential difference is given as integral EF dot dl. Okay, EF dot dl from N to P, and it will be also same as equal to minus EE dot dl. Okay, minus EE dot dl from N to P. So two things, the electric field due to a EMF is not conservative. Okay, then second thing is VEMF is equal to EF dot dl, okay, or minus EE dot dl. This is due to the charges, EE is due to the charges, EF is due to the battery. Okay.